All right, boys. So I've been trying to cover Genshin and play Destiny at the same time, and I've actually made some pretty damn good progress. So there's some people that might be higher power or had a couple extra aspects than me, maybe a couple exotics, but for the most part, I've been grinding out here. I've gotten 250 on all of my characters approximately, and I wanted to give my thoughts on Beyond Light. And I'm going to talk about some really good stuff. I'm going to talk about really positive stuff, but I'm also going to talk about some negative stuff that is really tilting me about Beyond Light. And Tuesday is going to be, honestly, in my opinion, make or break for this DLC. This season needs to nail it, or I'm very worried about Destiny's future. Now, I'm going to explain that further on in the video. Let's start with the positives first, because there's a couple things that I want to make note of. If anyone at Bungie watches this video, I think it's important to give good feedback and talk about what we do like and what does feel amazing. So let's talk about that first, because that's what I want them to double down on. Let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was exotics, and I have to say, I think they nailed it. Every exotic I've tried feels exotic. It amplifies a playstyle. It gives you a new playstyle, potentially. It changes your movement or gives you an ability you never had. And I think that the last time I was this interested in exotic armors was Forsaken. I feel like Forsaken nailed it with exotics. We had the Ursa Furiosa, the One-Eyed Mass, the Shards of Galanor, making you feel like this powerful beast. And some things had to get nerfed. But overall, I felt like exotics have been a little bit boring lately. Now, there were some niche ones and interesting ones, like the bombardiers on the Hunter, where you pop up the bomb when you dodge. Things like that feel cool and exotic. Are they the strongest? Maybe not. But I like exotics that are interesting. And I feel like all the exotics that are available in this DLC are really cool. The Titan gets the Icefall Mantle, making a shield around him. That stuff is awesome. Keep going. Stasis. Stasis, we're going to talk about that in PvP later. But for right now, I want to talk about PvE. Feels incredible. It is very rewarding, freezing a bunch of enemies, slowing them down, watching them shatter. It's just a satisfying thing. Having these different aspects and then having fragments on top of it gives you a lot of customization. We don't even have all of the aspects yet. We don't have all of the fragments available. And so once you start getting all of them unlocked, it's going to be great. And I thought that the process for unlocking them was really fair. It's something that anyone can grind out, and it didn't feel like RNG and chance. They also gave you a choice. So if you wanted to use Whisper of Shards, you could pick it. If you didn't like this one, you could choose a different one. And they gave us those options. They gave us options to do strikes, Crucible, or a little bit of Gambit. And then they gave you the choice of what aspect or fragment you wanted to get from them as a reward. Giving players agency and giving them lanes to follow for their rewards, amazing. Once again, I think that these subclasses in PvE feel so good that I really hope they can almost bring up some of the other classes, because I feel like with some of the utility of these, right, you're getting improved cooldowns, you're getting shattering, causing other shattering, causing freezing, there's a lot of stuff that seems to scale off of each other and kind of ramp up and snowball, and it makes some of the other subclasses feel weak. The Warlock, I think, is currently the biggest problem for that. The Warlock on Stasis feels so powerful compared to every other class, in my opinion, that it's hard to want to play anything else. Now, I didn't know I needed this or wanted this until The Division. The Division 2 has targeted loot. You want to farm for an AR? You can do that. You need to farm for a different armor piece or weapon? You can do that. And with these new Lost Sectors, they've cranked up the difficulty, and they've added a modifier that if you're doing it solo, you can farm for new exotics and old exotics. But you can also farm a particular slot. This is chest armor. This is arm pieces. There's one for helmets and boots and all the slots that you might need. And that's amazing, because if you're looking for a particular exotic like a Worm Husk, or you're looking for a special arm piece like the new Icefall Mantle for the Titan, you can hunt for it and hunt for a good roll on it. And that's great. Also, not everybody has 3 or 6 players to play activities. A lot of people play this game solo. And so giving them a lane for exotic armors and the new exotic armors by playing solo is fantastic. I'm so happy about this. I am absolutely in love with this. Thank you, Bungie, for adding this into the game. I think a lot of people are going to benefit from this long term, and I'm curious to see where they take this in the future. Even if it's just this, and they add more lost sectors in more planets down the road long term, I think it's a win. I think it's a great opportunity for farming. It's a great opportunity for everyone in the game. Now, whether it's the Crucible, or it's Strikes, or Gambit, playing these activities, even after you've got your powerful drop, has a chance of giving you power upgrades. And that's great because it limits or reduces the monotony of the power level grind. Because unfortunately, the power level grind is pretty boring and brutal. We're going to get into that. But being able to just get a random helmet or a random weapon that is a slight upgrade is great. I think that the power level grinds, any improvements they can make to it is a benefit. And so seeing that change for someone like me helps. Some people like slogging through the power levels. For me, I want new activities and new cool things to explore. And so that's a big win for me. So one thing that I love is the way they've reworked the mod system. You've got a lot of options here in this slot. If you want to put global reach and do a war mine build, you can. But having access to all the different reloading perks is a godsend. This is incredible. But on top of this, the fact that they have these minor strength mods, oh my god, I've been asking for this forever. I hate wasting stats. And I love being able to just put on a little quick 5 bomb and then give me some options here to do more reloading, right? Because if you look at this, these are enhanced perks, right? These are enhanced perks, essentially. They've reworked the mod system. So I could put on strength. I could put a hand cannon loader. And I could put on a machine gun loader. And then I would still have room for a war mine cell type mod. Before, you were really handcuffed. Do you want to use war mine cells or do you want stats? Do you want to be able to reload fast or do you want stats? And now I feel like I've got a very good mix of both. I feel like my armor pieces are much more min-maxed. And I've been waiting for this for a really long time. The elements, you can still change them and you can get some different mods and some different builds going, but for the most part, getting just some high stat rolls on some armor is a win, and that makes me happy. Now, another one. Gambit is actually way better. Gambit is a much better playlist than it used to be. The games are much quicker. It doesn't feel like a slog. I grinded through some Gambit to get some power levels. This is great. I think they did a great job on Gambit so far. It's not perfect. It's not for everyone, but Gambit is in a much better place in my opinion overall. I think it's better than Prime. I think it's better than base Gambit. The new Gambit system is a hybrid of the two, and I think it works. I think it works really well. Great job. Now, as for the story, I really enjoyed some of the conversations. Ghost made me laugh, like full-on laugh with his Drifter impression. If you haven't done that mission, you're in for a treat. It's hilarious. And the Stranger had some really amazing lore, and the story, I think, is cool. Were the missions amazing? It's more Destiny, okay? We'll talk about that later. But I really enjoyed my time while doing all the missions. The only thing was driving from the bottom to the top over and over and over again got a little tedious. Now, the planet as a whole, it's just a planet. I don't really care about planets that much. They don't I don't know. They're just a location for me to do the actual content. I haven't found any really cool secrets. I would love to find some secrets and things. I would love there to be some more dynamic things. You get some public events. You see some Vex are dealing with this thingamabobby. I get it. But for whatever reason, a lot of the time, I find that the Destiny worlds are a little boring. And, if there was a brig that dropped down and it was plated in gold, and if you killed it, it dropped an exotic, and it was like a rare event, things like that might actually matter for your progression, I would care more. I would be on the planet exploring more. But I know that even if I go and do that little Vex event here or that little Fallen event here, all I'm getting is some Glimmer and a blue. And so it's very hard for me to care. If it isn't a mission, if it isn't progression, then why am I doing it? I'm very, very reward focused. I have to. I don't care about a title. I don't care about a number by my name going up or changing. I don't care about triumph score. I care. Is my weapon cooler? Is my weapon more powerful? Is my armor exotic? What can I get for aspects? I like unlocking stuff. And so I can't just mindlessly play things that aren't progressing me. Now, I feel like there's not a lot of new loot dropping. Now, you can farm some from Varix. Varix actually, if you go over here, he's got a couple of different things that you can get. And that's cool. And you know what? Even on these, there's a couple of different perks that are available. There's a new grenade launcher perk. There's a rocket launcher perk. There's a couple that work on both. My pulse rifle has a perk similar to Bad Juju with Thresh. It gives you super energy on kills, okay? There are things to chase a little bit. Not too much. Not too much. But here's the thing. Is this pulse rifle, this 340 RPM pulse rifle, feels like every other 340 RPM pulse rifle in the game. And this sniper feels like every other 90 in the game, other than maybe the scope being a little different. And I find that a lot of the legendary loot just feels the same. And the perks are all the same. And it doesn't change your build that much. And unfortunately, I personally have gotten to a point of burnout on the loot, where I just don't really care. I use it to get my power level up, and I find a couple of choice options. But in PvP, I'm going back to old options. In PvE, I am going back to old options in a lot of cases. And I just feel, unfortunately, like we sunset a bunch of our weapons, and the new weapons that we get just feel the same. If you're going to sunset my weapons, if you're going to take my stuff away, they said it's so we can give you new crazy stuff. Where? Where is the crazy stuff? Where are the pinnacle weapons that break the game? The game's already broken in PvP. I'm going to talk about that. At this point, I don't care. You might as well give us a recluse in PvP or PvE or whatever. You might as well give us cracked grenade launchers. You might as well give us these different things, because at this point, I think that Destiny is more of a PvE game than a PvP game. I think at this point, we need those fun and exciting things to chase, because if I get another pulse rifle with Genesis on it, I'm about to delete it. Right? I'm just feeling so tired of all the gear. I'm so tired of getting legendary mask after legendary mask after legendary mask that's got a random 55 stat roll that I don't care about. I don't care about 99% of things that drop in this game, and it's getting really tedious. It's getting to the point where I just don't care. This number goes up, and that's the only reason that this is dropping, and I care about it. And in this case, it doesn't matter because the stats are bad, and it's lower power, so who cares? Now, speaking of power levels, this system has to go. Something has to change here, because if I have to grind up my power level, if I have to get this arbitrary number up so I don't get one banged in the raid one more time, I'm going to lose it. I think this system is so boring. All you do is play old activities. All you do is go and play old strikes and old Gambit maps and old Crucible and run around and do a couple little things on Europa. And it's just like, it's so unsatisfying for me because it's been the same thing year after year after year after year. We're on 5 years, 6 years of doing the same thing. I understand you need progression, but every item that drops, I don't care about it. I look at the little number and it's like, oh, is that higher? No, it's the same. Okay, well, get rid of it. And I want to care about the gear. I want to care about these legendaries, but I just don't. And the amount of random blues that drop. And sometimes a blue, it might be a power upgrade, but so much of the stuff is just trash thrown at you, and you get these levels, but it doesn't make you feel more powerful. I don't care about the gear. And every single time they reset my power, and I have to play those same old activities again, so that I'm strong enough to do the new activities, is annoying. I know that they need the chase, and they need the carrot, and they need all that stuff, But I would be much, much happier if they gave us a whole bunch of different aspects and fragments to grind, right? You know, there's a lot of space here. There's a lot of space on this list. If there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? If there was multiple things to chase and to grind for, and I had to spend a bunch of time doing it, I would do that. I would play those missions. I would spend time doing the strikes. But to get my power level up, I don't care. If I could literally go from one DLC to the next DLC, and my power level is just doesn't exist, and the damage I do is based on me finding these upgrades and getting these things, I would be way happier. Because it doesn't feel like a system that's rewarding. It doesn't feel like a system that's engaging. It's a slot machine over and over again to see if I got the right drops in the right slots to pull up a number so that I don't get one hit. It's a number where you get less weak, not more powerful. I don't like it. So another thing is exotics. Now, I really, really like when there is an exotic quest for something. I think that it adds a lot of value. When there's a secret mission, it makes it feel more exotic to get it. And giving guaranteed ways to get them, I think is a really good thing long term. But I also like when there is a couple of random exotics that can drop. In this DLC, the only way to get exotics is through quests and through the lost sectors. And I haven't seen any new catalysts or anything dropping, right? And the thing is when you have a new DLC, when you had Forsaken, even in Shadowkeep, there's a couple of exotics that are dropping randomly. And there's a couple catalysts that are dropping, some of them from your very first game. And I feel like that's missing a little bit. This new DLC dropped, and everyone's getting blues and purples, and no one's getting just a new exotic to drop randomly. And they're going, oh, what is this? It's a new one-eyed mask. What is this? There's no one playing their first game and going, Ace of Spade catalyst? What? There's a catalyst to make this even stronger? What? There was none of those moments that just surprised us. And I think that that's a mistake. And I find that a lot of people who are watching the content, a lot of people that are playing through this content, I don't see a lot of excited people because there's not much to be excited about. There's set paths towards your loot, and that's a good thing. But there's no sprinkle of excitement. There's no little dabble of, ooh, wonder. And I wish there was. When new catalysts come out, everyone's hunting them down. Should I get it? Should I not get it? You know, they're playing with new weapons and testing them. Right now, I've been using the same gear from the last DLC that is of power that I'm allowed to use, and I haven't really experimented because nothing is that interesting to me. Stasis. Let's talk about it. Man, this feels sick. Okay, we got new abilities. Look at this. It's going to go over there. It's going to freeze them. I can shatter them. Amazing. Incredible. I love it. Oh, what's this? There's a guy up there. I can tomahawk him from a distance and just... I can send in a stasis storm spiraling around. I love it. I love it. But what happens when you start using it in PvP against other players? So if you look at stasis on a base level, unupgraded, the Titan and the Warlock for sure hard counter every other super in the game. If you're on a Warlock in stasis, if you lose to another super, you messed up big time. It is so oppressively good that I think it is the strongest subclass in the game, bar none, not even a competition. And I'm going to explain that. And the Titan, also extremely good. The movement that you get on a Titan is insane. It is so much better than every other Titan in the game. That it's almost power creep at this point. Now the Hunter, maybe not as bad. But here's the thing. With the Hunter, with the Titan, with the Warlock, even at base level, they're pretty good. But when you start getting aspects and you start equipping fragments, oh my god! Oh my god! This is just stupid. The fact that you can throw a grenade that can freeze someone, You instantly win that fight. Like you are terrible at the game if you don't win that fight. If you tag him with a grenade and freeze him and you lose somehow, you messed up. The window to kill them is so large. And it does damage to them when they're frozen. They can't react when they're frozen. But then you add in fragments and aspects that then chain it to other people, giving you essentially an extra grenade on top. The amount of nutty stuff you can do with stasis is so power creeped. In my opinion, it's not even funny. And if that sells DLCs, that sells DLCs. But at this point in time, when people have upgraded these subclasses, playing the other classes is handicapping yourself. The only subclass that I can look at and I can say, do you know what? They can hang is Top Tree Dawnblade. And the reason why is because their mobility is so superior, you can probably dodge a lot of the classes. And your neutral game movement is so good. But the melees, the grenades, the ability to slow, the ability to freeze, the ability to chain things, the ability to dodge and freeze people when that comes out, the ability to freeze people with your rift ability. Once these subclasses are maxed out, it's over. PvP is going to be stasis only. Or it's going to be you losing. That's your choice. You either use stasis and have a chance, or you lose. And in my opinion, it's done. And it is the most frustrated I've ever been in PvP. Some people love it. Some people find it really fun. Every time I get frozen, I get a little bit more tilted and a little bit more tilted because it doesn't feel like there's any current counterplay to it. Breaking out takes forever. And this is the least fun I've ever had in PvP. Ever. And unfortunately, PvP is what I do in between the raids, in between the exotics coming out, in between the content drops. And I don't know in the current state if I can play PvP, which is a problem. That's a big problem. Now, there's one more thing. Loot feels so dry, so boring, there's not anything going on, but technically, Season of the Hunt starts on Tuesday. So I made this video on Monday, and I'm going to re-review things once Tuesday launches. But my first thoughts on the game are not great overall. I don't know how much I want to play this long term. I think that the stasis subclasses are great, and it's going to be really fun doing the raid and those activities. But once I've done those new activities, I don't know how much I can play PvP. Now, the loot is boring and all that stuff, but on Tuesday, if they nail it, if the stuff on Tuesday is really good, that might sway me. But I don't know if they can fix the balance changes and the sandbox in time. Typically, it takes them months and months and months and months, so that is a problem. But I think that we need to wait till Tuesday to get the full idea. But I wanted to give you my thoughts so far on the season, because I know that there's a lot of negative sentiment. Unfortunately, I'm seeing it a lot on my Twitch. Every time I stream this game, I'm not feeling super happy. And I can see it in the chat as well. And I'd love to know your thoughts. Are you happy with Beyond Light right now? Or are you bored? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.